Somebody tapped you on the shoulder and said, "Come along, son, we're going to war." So you went. But why? In any other deal like buying a car or running an errand, you have the right to say, "What's there in it for me?" Otherwise, you'd be buying bad cars for too much money or running errands for fools and starving to death. It was a kind of duty you owed yourself that when somebody said, "Come on, son, do this or do that," you should stand up and say, "Look, mister, why should I do this? For who am I doing it? And what am I going to get out of this in the end?" But when a guy comes along and says, "Here, come with me and risk your life, maybe die or be crippled," well then you've got no rights. You haven't even the right to say yes or I'll think it over. There are plenty of laws to protect guys' money, even in wartime, but there's nothing in the books that says a man's life is own. Of course, a lot of guys were ashamed. Somebody said, "Let's go out and fight for liberty." So they went and got killed without ever once thinking about liberty. And what kind of liberty were they fighting for anyway? How much liberty and whose idea of liberty? Were they fighting for the liberty of eating free ice cream cones all their lives? Or the liberty of robbing anybody they pleased whenever they wanted to, or what? You tell a man he can't rob and you take away some of his liberty. You've got to. What the hell does liberty mean anyhow? It's just a word like house or table or any other word. Only it's a special kind of word. A guy says house and he can point to a house and prove it. But a guy says, "Come on, let's fight for liberty," and he can't show you liberty. He can't prove the thing he's talking about, so how in the hell can he be telling you to fight for it? No, sir, anybody who went out and got into the front line trenches to fight for liberty was a goddamn fool. And the guy who got him there was a liar. Guys had always been fighting for liberty. America fought a war for liberty in 1776. Lots of guys died. And in the end, does America have any more liberty than Canada or Australia, who didn't fight at all? Maybe so. I'm not arguing, I'm just asking. Can you look at it and say, he's an American who fought for his liberty, and anybody can see he's a different guy from a Canadian who didn't? No, by God, you can't, and that's that. So maybe a lot of guys with wives and kids died in 1776 when they didn't need to die at all. They're dead now anyway. Sure, but that doesn't do any good. A guy can think of being dead 100 years from now, and he doesn't mind it. And take decency. Everybody said America was fighting a war for the triumph of decency. But whose idea of decency? And decency for who? Speak up and tell us what decency is. Tell us how much better a decent dead man feels than an indecent live one. Make a comparison there in facts like houses and tables. Make it in words we can understand. And don't talk about honor. The honor of a Chinese or an Englishman or an African Negro or an American or a Mexican. Please, all you guys who want to fight for and preserve our honor, let us know what the hell honor is. Is it American honor for the whole world we're fighting for? Maybe the world doesn't like it. Maybe the South Sea Islanders like their honor better. For Christ's sake, give us things to fight for we can see and feel and pin down and understand. No more highfalutin words that mean nothing like native land. Motherland, fatherland, homeland, native land, it's all the same. What the hell good to you is your native land after you're dead? Whose native land is it after you're dead? If you get killed fighting for your native land, you bought a pig and a poke, paid for something you'll never collect. And when they couldn't hook the little guys into fighting for liberty or freedom or democracy or independence or decency or honor, they tried the women. Look at the dirty Huns, they would say. Look at them, how they rape the beautiful French and Belgian girls. Somebody's got to stop all that raping. So come on, little guys, join the army, save the beautiful French and Belgian girls. So the little guy got bewildered and he signed up, and in a little while, a shell hit him, and his life splattered out of him in red meat pulp, and he was dead. Dead for another world, and all the fierce old bats of the DAR get out and hurrah themselves hoarse over his grave. He died for womanhood. When armies begin to move and flags wave and slogans pop up, watch out, little guy, because it's somebody else's chestnuts in the fire, not yours. It's words you're fighting for, and you're not making an honest deal for your life for something better. You're being noble, and after you're killed, the thing you traded your life for won't do you any good, and chances are it won't do anybody else any good either. You can always hear the people who are willing to sacrifice somebody else's life. There's plenty loud, and they talk all the time. You can find them in churches and schools and newspapers and legislators and Congress. That's their business. They sound wonderful. Death before dishonor. This ground sanctified by blood. These men who died so gloriously, they shall not have died in vain, our noble dead. But what did the dead say? Did anybody ever come back from the dead? Any single one of the millions who got killed? Did any of them ever come back and say, "My God, I'm glad I'm dead, because death is always better than dishonor"? Did they say, "I'm glad I died to make this world safe for democracy"? Did they say, "I like death better than losing liberty"? Did any of them ever say, "Look at me, I'm dead, but I died for decency, and that's better than being alive"? Nobody but the dead know whether all these things people talk about are worth dying for or not, and the dead can't talk. So the words about noble deaths and sacred blood and honor and such are all put into dead lips by grave robbers and fakes, who have no right to speak for the dead. If a man says death before dishonor, he's either a fool or a liar, because he doesn't know what death is. He isn't able to judge. Now, if you die to protect your life, you aren't alive anyhow, so how's there any sense in a thing like that? A man doesn't say, "I will starve myself to death to keep from starving." He doesn't say, "I will spend all my money in order to save my money." He doesn't say, "I will burn my house down in order to keep it from burning." And all the guys who died, all the 5 million or 7 million or 10 million who went out and died to make the world safe for democracy, to make the world safe for words without meaning, how did they feel about it just before they died? They died crying in their minds like little babies. They forgot the things they were fighting for and things they were dying for. They thought about things a man can understand. They died yearning for the face of a friend. They died whimpering for the voice of a mother, a father, a wife, a child. They died with their hearts sick for one more look at the place where they were born. Please God, just one more look. They died moaning and sighing for life. There's no word worth your life. I'd rather work in coal mines deep under the earth and never see sunlight and eat crusts and water and work 20 hours a day. I'd rather do that than be dead. I would trade democracy for life. I would trade independence and honor and freedom and decency for life. I'll give you all these things, and you give me the power to walk and see and hear and breathe the air and taste my food. You take the words. Give me back my life. I'm not asking for a happy life now. I'm not asking for a decent life or an honorable life or a free life. I'm beyond that. I'm dead. So I'm simply asking for life, to live, to feel, to be something that moves over the ground and isn't dead. I know what death is, and all you people who talk about dying for words, you don't know what life is. There's nothing noble about dying. Not even if you die for honor. Just say, Mister, I'm sorry, I got no time to die. I'm too busy, and then turn and run like hell. If they say coward, well, don't pay attention because it's your job to live, not die. If they talk about dying for principles that are bigger than you, say, Mister, you're a liar. Nothing is bigger than life. There's nothing noble in death. What's noble about lying in the ground and rotting? What's noble about never seeing the sunshine again? What's noble about having your legs and arms blown off? What's noble about being blind and deaf and dumb? What's noble about being dead? You're less than a dog, less than a rat, less than a bee or an ant, and less than a white maggot crawling around in a dung heap. You're dead, mister. You died for nothing. You're dead, mister. You're dead.